All right, let's jump into this deep dive. Close your eyes for a sec and picture Russia. What comes to mind?
Expansive landscapes.
Yeah,
Maybe a little vodka, some caviar.
definitely.
Yeah.
But what about wine? Get ready to raise a glass to the unexpected world of Russian wine.
You heard right. We're going on a really fascinating journey to a wine region most people don't even know exists.
It's like uncovering a hidden gem in the wine world.
Absolutely. What I find captivating about Russian wine is that it thrives in this extreme terroir.
Extreme how?
Well, we're talking vineyards clinging to volcanic cliffs right on the Black Sea coast. They withstand harsh winters, utilize these really specific microclimates.
Wow.
Most winemakers wouldn't even try it. This isn't, your typical Napa Valley scene.
No kidding. That's
Uh,
hardcore. It's like the ultimate test of resilience for the grapes and the winemakers.
it really is.
And you know me, I love a good backstory. So tell me, what's the history of this whole Russian wine thing?
Buckle up, it's a roller coaster. We're talking ancient origins, a boost during the Tsarist era, mass production in the Soviet period, quite a journey.
That's a lot of history in a bottle. So where does that leave Russian wine today?
It's in the middle of this really interesting modern revival. But it's not just about, replicating the old ways. They're taking those ancient techniques, combining them with modern innovations.
Cool. So what's the end result? What are we actually tasting?
You're going to be blown away by what they're producing.
I'm ready. Hit me with it. What's in the bottle?
All right, so forget your Cabernet and Chardonnay for a second.
Okay.
Have you ever had a wine that tastes like the Black Sea wind?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a pretty intense sensory experience you're describing.
That's what's so special about Russian wine.
Mm.
They're using these indigenous grapes that have, adapted to the land over centuries.
Like what? Give me an example.
Krasnostav Zolotovsky.
Say that again.
Krasnostav Zolotovsky.
Whoa. That's a mouthful.
I know, right? But the flavor's even more complex. Think rich black fruits, warming spices, and this really nice earthy undertone.
You're making me want to go on a Russian wine hunt right now.
You should.
But let's break it down a little. Say I'm new to all this. What are some other grapes I should look out for? Akatsiteli comes to mind.
Oh, Rakotsiteli is a chameleon. It
Yeah.
really depends on where it's grown and how it's made. But you could get this burst of, Sicilian lemon and green apple. Yeah. Or something with a more mineral edge, almost like a dry Riesling. And it can even make some fantastic sweet wines.
Versatile. Okay, so shifting gears a little, because Russia is huge. Where are these magical vineyards hiding?
That's part of the allure.
Huh.
You've got vineyards spread across these incredibly diverse landscapes.
Like where?
Take Krasnodar Krai, for instance.
Okay.
That's like the heartland of Russian winemaking. And it has this almost Mediterranean climate along the Black Sea.
So I'm guessing that's where they grow those classic Cabernet Sauvignon.
You'll find those there. But then you turn a corner and stumble upon wineries producing these really crisp German-style whites. It's a region full of surprises.
So it's like each bottle has its own passport, reflecting the place it came from.
Exactly.
And speaking of passports, Crimea. We got to talk about Crimea. What's the deal with their wine scene?
Crimea's got this crazy long history of winemaking.
Like, how long are we talking?
Think ancient Greeks, Romans.
Whoa, seriously?
They were planting grapes there centuries ago.
No way.
So when you taste a Crimean wine, you're tasting history.
That's pretty amazing. So what kind of wines can we expect from Crimea?
You'll find some really elegant wines, a lot of them classically styled. You might find a light-bodied Pinot Noir, or maybe a more robust Cabernet Sauvignon.
Wow. Imagine sipping a Pinot Noir with a lineage going all the way back to the Roman Empire.
Right. Talk about a conversation starter.
That's a good one. All right, what about that Don Valley you mentioned earlier? I feel like that region is having a moment.
The Don Valley is definitely on the rise. They're really making a name for themselves, especially with those indigenous grapes we were talking about.
So that's where those grapes really sing.
It's like they found their voice. It's bold, intriguing a wine region to watch, that's for sure.
I'm adding it to my list. Okay, so we've got these incredible grapes, the diverse landscapes. But I want to know more about the whole experience. What's it like to actually drink wine in Russia today?
It's an experience. It's cultural immersion. Forget those old world perceptions of Russia. It's not like that at all.
So what are we talking about then?
Picture a young professional in Moscow. They're just as comfortable discussing terroir as they are the latest tech startup. That's the vibe.
Modern and connected to their roots. I love that. So is this what's driving all the Russian eno-tourism I've been hearing about?
It's huge right now. Travelers want something different. So they're swapping crowded beaches for tranquil vineyards, trading those cookie-cutter tours for these really intimate tastings.
Okay, paint me a picture. What's an intimate tasting in Russian look like?
Picture this. You're cycling past vineyards overlooking the Black Sea.
I'm already sold.
In your hand, a glass of crisp Arcatsetli. The sun setting. It's magical.
That sounds incredible. And the tastings themselves, what are those like?
Imagine a meal infused with, like, Cossack traditions. You're sipping on full-bodied reds, traditional folk music in the background. And then they bring out ice wine made from frozen grapes.
Hold on, frozen grapes? How does that even work?
That's the beauty of extreme terroir. In some regions, they actually leave the grapes on the vine to freeze.
Really?
Yeah, and they press them while they're still frozen solid.
Wow.
So you get this super concentrated juice, really intense sweetness and acidity. It makes this really unique dessert wine rich, complex. You've never tasted anything like it.
You've definitely piqued my interest. So, okay, be honest. Is this all like a luxury experience for oligarchs? Or can a regular person experience this Russian wine scene?
Not at all. It's still relatively undiscovered.
Really?
Yeah, so it's way more affordable than, say, a weekend in Napa Valley. Think charming boutique wineries, family-run vineyards. There's this genuine warmth, You're not just a tourist, you're a guest.
That makes a big difference.
It does.
This is sounding more and more appealing by the minute.
Right.
But let's get real for a second. We've painted a pretty rosy picture so far, but what about the challenges? What are some things Russian winemakers are facing as we look ahead?
Yeah, there's always two sides to every story. What's the reality check here? Well, climate change is a big one. It's tough, because on one hand, you have these unpredictable weather patterns,
Yeah.
and that can be a real threat to established vineyards. But then on the flip side,
It's opening up new opportunities.
exactly, it could mean new frontiers for vineyards in places we never thought possible.
Like where?
Siberia, for instance. We might be talking about Siberian wine soon.
Oh, Siberian wine. There's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Okay, so climate change aside, what about competition? The wine world is pretty crowded out there. How does Russian wine stand out?
That's the thing. They're not trying to be France or Italy. They're embracing what makes them unique.
I like that.
It's their indigenous grapes, the Arcatsikles, the Saprai.
And that extreme terroir we talked about.
Exactly. It all comes through in the glass.
So what's the outlook? Are you feeling optimistic about the future of Russian wine?
I am, actually. There's this palpable passion.
Ah.
And they're not afraid to innovate. Some wineries are using cutting-edge technology,
Really?
but then others, they're going back to their roots. They're using these ancient techniques like fermenting in clay vessels buried underground.
What?
Yeah. They're called kevri. It's a tradition that goes back centuries.
Every gotta love learning new wine words. So for listeners who are now officially intrigued, what's the one thing you want them to take away from all this?
Don't be afraid to explore. Get out of your comfort zone. Skip those familiar names on the wine list and try something new. I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised.
I'm ready to raise a glass to that. This has been an incredible journey.
It really has.
Cheers to the unexpected. Yeah. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Russian wine. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.